Hello again, folks. Welcome back, and let's get started on some magic. So this one's going to be set up kind of like our inventory system, so it's going to get its own folder. So I'm back in my blueprints folder. I'm going to right click, create a new folder called Magic System. I'm going to double click and open that up, and the very first thing I want to create is a blueprint class of an actor, and this is going to be my base spell underscore BP. That's all we got to do with that for now. We just need it so we can set up our structure. So just like we did the inventory system with the item info structure, we're going to have a spell info structure. So I'm going to right click, go into my blueprints. Okay, first thing we need to do is an enumeration. Enunciation is not my strong suit, but we need an enumeration. This is going to be a list of all of the spell names that you want. So like if you want to have a fireball, electro ball, ice spike, which are some of the ones I'm going to set up, but whatever name of the spell you want, they'll go into this. So this is my spell names underscore E. I'm going to open that up. I'm going to dock it up here, and I'm going to add 9 for now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Because I'm going to add 9 spells total over the course of the series. So first one is going to be my fireball. Second one is going to be shock. Ice spike. I'm going to have 3 ranged spells, 3 self spells, and then 3 trap spells. So the 3 ranged are going to be the fireball, shock, and ice spike. The buff spells are going to be heal, enrage. That'll make our character stronger, and shield wall, I guess, something like that. Something that says increased defense, basically. So this will be restoring HP, increasing strength, increasing defense. And then I'm going to have a fire trap. An ice trap. And then a thunder trap. Why does thunder trap sound like a song? I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking Thunderstruck. I'm probably getting confused. Anyway, back to the point. So after the spell names are all established, which these are going to be used in conjunction with our data table. So they'll be the same as our row names, but we're going to go about an easier way of setting that up later. So now I'm going to right click and create one more enumeration. And this is going to be my spell type underscore E. I'm going to have 3 in here. So for the first one, I'm going to have ranged. Second one will be buff. And the third one will be trap. So this will be important for in case you want to categorize in your spell book, like you have different categories for each of your spells to go in. This will help with that. So with those 2 established, now we need to create the spell info structure. So right clicking, going into the blueprints and getting that structure. This will be spell info underscore S. I'll double click and open that up. And the very top one, I'm going to call this spell class. And that is going to be my base spell blueprint. Want a class reference of that. So then we'll be able to just create child blueprints of this, and then all of them will be associated based off that. I'm going to create another one that will be my spell image. That will be a texture 2D. 2S? No, 2D. Object reference. And I'm going to check my notes real quick just to make sure I get all the ones. Oh, I've been practicing landscape stuff, so getting ready for that one. So, spell info. So spell class, spell type, spell name, spell image, mana cost, potency, price, speed. Okay. So spell, I'm actually going to change this one. So spell name. And that will be my, if I can click it, spell name enumerator. A new one, that's my spell type. Spell type. Now this one can be the spell image, and that one will be the texture 2D object reference. And then I got a goldfish memory. Hang on one second. Let's see. Spell name, spell image. Mana cost, potency, price, speed. Mana cost, potency, price, speed. Mana cost, potency, price, speed. So mana cost, which since our mana system is set up with floats, it will also be a float. Mana cost, potency. Potency, which will be the strength of the spell, so, or how much it restores, etc. So I'm just going to leave that as a float also. A new one for the price of the spell. So the way we're going to set up our spell system is we're going to have arcane teachers later on. So you'll be able to buy spells from them to learn. So I'm going to set that as an integer because when we set up our monetary system, it's also going to be using integers. So the last one is going to be speed. Oh no, actually we got one more on this one. So speed is going to be a float, and then we want one more that I didn't put on the other one. That is gravity scale. So that way we can customize, like if you want that to have no gravity, you can set it to 0. If you want it to have a slight arc to it, or if you got a spell that you're going to lob, etc. So that'll come in handy for that. So with all 3 of those things made, or all 4 of those things made, let's save real quick. And then I'm going to right click, and under miscellaneous, I want to get a data table. And for the row structure, it's going to be my spell info. This will be my spell underscore DT. I'm going to double click and open that up, and here is where we're going to keep all of the spell info, for just like we did the inventory system where you have your items laid out on the grid. Now we're going to do the same thing with this. So I'm going to just add a bunch of rows real quick, and for the first one I'm going to rename them all real quick. So I'm going to highlight my first one and hitting F2 on the keyboard, I'm just going to call it Fireball. And if you need to check to see how any of them are named, instead of having to go back to your spell names list, you can just check the drop down. So my Fireball will be Fireball. This one was, what was second? Shock. Okay. Shock. And that one was Ice Spike, which will be my Ice Spike. Heal. Alright, so heal. Not engage, enrage. Shield wall, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. And then fire trap. Ice trap. And thunder trap. So I'm going to just update these real quick. Oh, that one's okay. Alright. Rage. Shield wall. Fire trap. Fire trap. Ice trap. And thunder trap. Alright. So you can go through and kind of establish everything. I'll probably do the rest of it in like one of the quiet videos like I did setting up the item data table. But now we need to go into our base spell blueprint real quick. And we need to set it up to have everything we'll need for our spells. So once you're on this screen, we're going to add a component that is a particle system. And this will be spell, spell, that'll just be spell. Okay, so I'm going to add another one. It'll be a sphere collision. And that'll be basically its impact radius. So I'm just going to go ahead and call it impact radius. And, oh, and then we want a projectile movement system. So with these things all set, we can go down into our variables list and add one called spell info that we will set to be our spell info structure. This way all of the children blueprints have access to this in their default tab. So when you click up here, you'll be able to, I'm going to compile that real quick, and then they'll all have just like that. Now just like we did the items, we're going to set it up to where it'll pull the info from the data table and establish all of this fairly quickly. So I'm going to go into my construction script, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drag out my projectile movement, and I want to set its speed. So I want the initial speed and the max speed. So I'm going to set the initial speed and the max speed and its gravity scale. So I'm going to set all of that up like that. I'm going to drag out my spell info. Hold up. Oh, that's the, okay. Base spell. Ah. Alright, so before we do all this, I'm going to drag this a little ways back. And I am going to right click and get data table row. So we need to get our data table. And the data table is going to be our spells. And for the row name, we are going to drag off our spell info, break it open, and right here off the spell name, which each one, as we create it, we'll have to go in and establish it, but that's all we'll have to do. For the spell name, I am going to convert enum to string, and then plug that into the row name, so it converts it automatically to a text. The reason we have to do this instead of just going straight in like that and letting it convert from an enumerator to a name is it'll be just this long incoherent string and it won't match our row name. But if we convert it to a string and then let it convert it to a text, then it'll match perfectly and pull just like it's supposed to. So I'm going to hook my construction script up to my get data table row. And for the out row, I'm going to set the spell info to what it finds in that row. And then hook that up. And then, I'm just going to get rid of that one. I'm going to move all of these a little bit further, and then I'm going to break open the spell info here. So this is where I'll set up my speed going into both of these, because we want it to match. And then the gravity scale into that one. And then I'm going to check my notes one more time. Let's just take a quick little look-see. So breaking it open, getting the name, converting to string, then to text, then to row name, setting the spell info, breaking it open, and then bam. Okay. Oop. Alright. Alright, so we'll compile that real quick. Come on back out to our spells data table. And then we'll go ahead and just finish off by setting all this info up. Oh. in order to set this up, I'm going to right click and create a folder, one called ranged, new folder. This one will be buffs, new folder, traps. Now the traps will also have a subcategory because we'll have two versions of the trap spells. So we'll have the one that we cast initially, and then once it lands somewhere, it'll spawn another subcategory of a spell that is its traps placed. But we'll get into that in a bit. So I'm going to right click, create child blueprint, and I'm just going to create all of the spells real quick. Create child blueprint. Try to remember my order that I made them. And heal. It's gonna bug me if it doesn't have that _BP. Alright, base spell, create child. This is enrage. Create child. Shield wall. Let's see, fireball, ice spike, and shock can go into my ranged folder. Enrage, heal, and shield wall into my buffs. And then just a few more. I know this part's boring. Fire trap, ice trap, I think is what it was. And then thunder trap _BP. And then I'll set that, and that into my traps category. So now we'll go in and I'll show you how you're going to establish all of the info for them. Oh, no, we need to set up this. We'll do that in the next one. So now that we can go through and establish all the info for ours, let's do it. So in the spell class for each one, you'll want to match it up to what its row is. So for the fireball, it'll be my fireball BP. Shock is my shock spell. Ice spike. Now this will be the actual blueprint that when we call this and then we've got that one selected, it'll cast that. So you want to make sure it matches. Enrage. That's shield wall. Fire trap. Ice trap. Thunder trap. Alright, so then you want to go through and establish the spell type. So the first three are ranged on mine. Then the spell type for this one's a buff. 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 Can you do multiple at a time? No, you can't. Alright. That would have been cool. Trap, trap, trap. Alright, now for I have images that I'm going to use for the magic, but I've brought this up a couple times. There's this place, opengameart.org, and just right up here at the top you can type magic and it should bring up like arcane magic effects. Let's do icon. And then there's like all kinds of item, icon colors, icon set, application, spell icon collection, etc. Lots of free stuff that you can use. But okay. But I'm going to be using my, what's this one? This one. Nova Art. So my fireball. This will be my level 1 fireball. So you just basically go pick out your image and then you can hit this little button and set it. So shock. I'm just going to set up a couple of these and then I'll do them all off camera. This is just to show you a quick way, and then that looks like a lightning. This is just so I can show you in the next video the what's it called, the spell book itself. So there's that. I'm just gonna set up those three for now because then it gets too tedious. So the mana cost, this is how much you want each spell to cost. Like this one's going to be 20, the potency, it's going to do 20 damage. It's going to cost 500, it's going to travel. This one's going to be 1,000 for the speed, which, trust me, is not very quick when it comes to these spells. The gravity scale, I'm going to set at 0.75 because I want it to kind of... Oh no! That kind of thing. And then I'm just going to set up the next one real quick. So this one's going to cost, what is this first one? 35, potency of, also 35, why not? Potency, first one's 500, then this one can be 750, speed, also 1,000. And then this one will just fly. Alright, let's get to the next part. So in the base, no, we already did that. Okay, so now what you want to do to make sure it pulls from the right data table is set all of the spell names to what they need to be. So for instance, I'm arranged. Fireball's automatically set because it's the first one, but I'll go into the ice ball and then I'll just set the ice spike to ice spike. You don't have to worry about any of the rest of this. It'll pull it from the data table in the construction script and then establish all the other parameters. So this one's the shock. I know this is tedious, but sometimes it is. So if you want to probably skip to the next one or whatever you feel like doing, this is enrage. Because I'm going to set up these real quick and then we'll go to the next one. I just like to do everything that I'm going to do on camera in case there's someone that wants to see it, they can. Other people that don't want to, they can skip, you know, it's whatever you like. Ice trap, and then thunder. Now you don't need to worry about compiling them really, because once you press play they'll automatically compile. So see, I went through and I just set it, and then you press play and then it automatically compiles it all. So in the next one we will start setting up our HUD so that we can actually, you know, the spell book, so that we can actually see these in action. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.